Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fed Up with me, Fed Up Gaz. Joining me today are Connor and Joy from the Industrial band Trick Casket, who are from Canada. I'm looking forward to getting into this today. How is it going, to guys? Today, and we seem to be all in a similar state of mind as we've been talking off air.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bit of a late night last night, but it was
yeah,
Yeah,
a good time.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Connor and I went and got the bright idea to go to a Nine Inch Nails themed goth night here in Toronto that a buddy of ours puts on, and we hit the sauce a little too hard, and both of us were like, we got an interview tomorrow. We're not gonna get too drunk. Yeah, we're gonna go home early. Oh no.
That was my logic going in. I'm like, well, we got an important thing to do tomorrow, so let's not get super sauced. But here we are.
all
Yeah.
good, all good. The water and the coffee and everything will help us get through it. In theory, yeah. The thing I noticed with your sound when I was listening, I've been chatting with Joy in emails a little bit about what I've been listening to recently, a lot of like dark techno and dark synth stuff. And you guys have come in just at the right time when I was wanting to diversify the show, get some more genres on. So it's awesome to have you here for that reason. And I noticed the impression I was getting from your sound. I'm sure you've probably heard this a lot before. I could hear like bits of Dawn of Ashes, certainly Nine Inch Nails, bits of Korn, like all fused together. Um, and there's this like what resonates with me as well with the lyrics. There's a really kind of like really dark introspective and reflective quality about it, mixed with like really gritty raw music, which I think backs up that emotion, which is certainly in the lyrics. So has that always been one of the driving forces within the band with both of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like kind of wearing the influences on my sleeve. I really like
Yeah,
because I mean my two top favorite bands of all time is Korn and Nine Inch Nails. So
yeah.
I'm like, I wonder what it'd sound like if I just mesh those two together.
Yeah, for real, man. And that's the beauty of it when you can take those influences and see what you can come up with, so you can get a unique perspective. I always like artists who bands who do that, who aren't afraid to step outside the box and say, right, let's take this, put this element with it. Um, I mean, Filth. It's a song that immediately grabs you. It's got the darkness in there. It's got the riffs as well. The beats are certainly there. Everything comes to mind. Um, and when I was reading about the lyrics as well, it kind of says like, could this be about somebody else or me individually? Um, I think a lot of people can relate to the lyrics as well, because I think we've all found ourselves in a relationship like that at some point, whether it's someone at work romantically or a friend who seems to have like a lot of really bad energy around them. And you will try to resolve that situation, absolutely exhaust it, and it just seems to be like this repeated pattern, trapped in a cycle, almost like a psychological horror movie in a way, as if some guy or girl is being tormented by somebody and it's just being forced to live out those same events going over and over again. And I think the chorus there that comes in, you're so dirty. I think that really testifies that, yeah, I was behaving myself. I think we can get away with the odd word or two. I think we can get away with the odd one or two. We should be all right. So
Yeah,
I
it's
just,
funny. Like, do we have a politically correct version of what the song is about? I don't think we do.
I mean,
You had a really good way to
way,
explain it.
yeah, in
Yeah.
a way, because it's again, I love toying with kind of like juxtaposition in a way, and I love
Yeah.
toying with ideas because you can take Filth and you can be like, oh, he's really angry at someone and
Yeah.
he's dealing with like whoever this toxic ass person is, and
Yeah.
or what I really like about it is that you can kind of like flip it on its own head and you can take it in as in like a self reflection. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that who I used to be? Yeah.
You can kind of take it. You can take it either way, which I think is really cool because people who, like, as a music fan myself, when an artist kind of leaves it up to kind of whatever you want it to be, it's like it can be anything you want. It can kind of come for you in any kind of situation that you might be in. So
yeah,
isn't that
I find a lot of your lyrics are like that too.
Yeah, because it's like a lot of my lyrics are. A lot of my lyrics sound like they're like attacking someone.
Yeah.
But it's like I try not to make it just a blatant idea that I'm kind of lashing out at someone, because I'm like, you can take everything that I'm saying and put like an introspective kind of aspect to it. And it's like you could think that you're like the greatest person in the world and then suddenly have that giant reality check where it's like, oh shit, maybe
I'm the problem. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm the problem, or was I sometimes, if you get that wrong person around you, that they bring out the worst in you, and you're thinking, right, I wasn't at fault saying that situation. Yeah. No, they brought that out. Yeah. And I think
you hit the nail right on the head there, that one. Yeah.
And you as a songwriter as well, and as both you as musicians, that's great for you from a marketing standpoint, that fans can, and new fans as well, can take those lyrics and it can be interpreted in a number of ways as well. So your reach then is that much wider from that too, which is a good thing. If like, well, could this mean this or that? I always like, especially in alternative and extreme music, where as you said, Connor, like going right on the nose sometimes when people write or play music that's from a really raw and deep personal space, or things that they've seen around them from experiences, and that comes in music, and it just seems to meld so well, particularly I think because it's real and it's lived. It just gives that validity to it, and more so sometimes than and getting that anger out in a healthy way, rather than, and I'm not bashing bands who do this, like with the horror themes, with death metal, which I'm actually going to be talking about tomorrow with another band.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's nice, as I said, when you get something where it's based on something that we could have experienced or somebody else. All those angry emotions that we can feel from that, it just seems to give that little bit more of a punch sometimes, and think, yeah, I can really identify with this as well. So I thought that was a real good quality that I noticed when I was reading the lyrics. And when I was listening to your previous music as well, again, this is no ego stroking, I checked out Give Me a Break, the full length with Ham as well. And I was noticing, I thought this seems to be quite a running theme here, which is certainly a good thing.
Yeah, it's like it's like my day-to-day life. I mean, that's kind of just what I get inspired by. It's just like the things that just happen on a day-to-day kind of basis, where whatever it might be. And I know for sure 2022 was filled with kind of a lot of looking at myself, and also looking at the people I surrounded myself with, and like what those people brought out in me, which was kind of just, it's pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And especially like coming out of something like COVID, right, where we've been shacked up for a couple of years. A lot of that anger and anxiety and frustrations, especially as musicians, not being able to play, not being able to have our regular emotional outlet, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Really kind of, everything kind of gets pent up, and then, we start writing these kind of songs as like the ultimate catharsis, right? And it's especially like lately, a lot of the songs that we've been, the newer songs, Filth being the first one out of the new batch of songs we're working on, they're pretty angry songs, right? And they're getting heavier and heavier the more we go, but at the same time, we're trying to balance that out with some more electronic elements as well, so we don't go full metal.
Yeah.
Being that we're all metalheads, but we're trying to diversify a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And especially for, even when we're playing live shows, like we want to kind of have the kind of ebbs and flows as we're going, right? To give those listeners that kind of emotional journey that we've been going through as well. Like, going. It's almost like I don't want to say a catch and release. I don't think that's the right word, but like kind of going from angry to introspective to sad, to happy to, you know what I mean, and designing the songs to flow that way too. So
yeah, because it's also like you can't just be lashing out at people without taking a look at yourself, right? Because it's like we've all like made like a shit ton of mistakes.
Oh hell yeah.
It's like I'm like that's just how I write too, because I'm like I always try to look inwards and then constructively, like you said earlier, just kind of constructively kind of just let it out, but also it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain.
It's all right, man. Yeah. Bit like my questions sometimes. I just ramble there.
Yeah.
I think, feel free to cut me off here as well. I think, as we were saying about that rawness, that realness, giving it that validity, and especially as you said, Joy, coming out of COVID as well, the impact that's had on people's mental health. I mean, there's a lot of bands who just haven't returned, labels, venues, everything, business, absolutely disastrous. So I think
I was going to say, like, you know, when you look at bands like, so one of my big influences, and I know Connor's too, is a band called Three Teeth, which we absolutely love, like industrial metal.
Oh, let's check them out.
Yeah, check them out. You'll hear a lot of similarities with Filth and some of our newer stuff with like our heavier stuff with Three Teeth. But so they were, you know, one of those bands where they were on the up and up, you know, opening for Rammstein and opening for all these big bands. I think they did a string of shows with Ministry, and then COVID hit and it just kind of destroyed them after they had sunk so much money into a tour.
Damn.
And that's the scary reality of where we're at, right? So it's, especially when you're a small band like us, and all of our money goes into this project, right? And because we're pretty much doing this almost full time at this point.
Yeah.
And it's scary when something like that comes along, because what do you do, right? You can't play shows. You couldn't even rehearse, because here in Canada, we weren't allowed to be in the same room. And you know, we're like, you have to think of really creative ways to like make money as a musician, but also like, how do we express ourselves at the same time? We're so used to going on stage, or for me, sitting behind a drum set and just beating away my frustrations. It's kind of funny, but sorry, I was just thinking all perverted there for a second. But,
yeah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll just skip over it.
During COVID, I beat him on a different way, but you know.
Yeah.
But no, it just got really, really tough, and I find that's, you know, looking at those bands and how they've overcome that has kind of inspired us as well to overcome those challenges and figure out new ways of approaching music, approaching our relationship to music, and that kind of stuff, right? Like, it's just, it's been tough.
That's actually that's a cool thing you just said, like our relationship to music. I'm like, yeah. That's like such a kind of broad label, but yeah, totally.
Yeah, I know for myself, I had to re-examine, like, you know, I've been drumming for almost 30 years. And so, you know, I had to kind of look at that whole relationship with my drums and why I'm playing the instrument in the first place. And when you're sitting around with too much spare time on your hands, where you're in your head the whole time for 2 years, you know, it's a perfect time to do that. But then, you know, it really helps you realize, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I playing drums? Why am I playing this angry industrial music? Or in my case, like, I was in a bunch of bands. So it was like doing metal in one band and doing industrial in another, and doing, at one point I was even doing like reggae trip hop with another band, right?
Right, trip hop's cool. Nice.
Yeah, and it's you know, you look at that relationship and then you realize it's like, oh yeah, this is it's kind of active meditation, right? It's like it's different forms of emotional release, I guess you can say. And then that starts really coming out. Like, I don't write lyrics, but I'll kind of channel whatever Connor's writing, or whoever I'm working with, what they're writing, and it kind of fuels my playing as well. So if we're writing, like if you see, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of videos of us playing live online, but just the sheer intensity of our show sometimes when we come out, the three of us or the four of us now, and when Connor's angry, we're all angry, and we just go crazy, especially with the metal stuff.
But doesn't that even make it more intense, those shows that really puts that atmosphere, because you're all vibing off each other, you're picking that up. If you didn't pick up Connor's anger, and Connor's, giving it his all, then saying yes, this that would not only suck to watch, that would suck in the band. Connor, then you must be thinking, well, come on, guys, I'm putting it all into it. I'm really getting myself, and you're just like session musician in the background.
And I've been in bands like that where I was kind of like the session player, right? And what sucks is that it doesn't allow you to really connect and resonate in the way that with the music, right? Because it's hard to explain. It's like,
I get what you're saying.
One of the things I love playing with Trick Casket, especially with Connor and Evan and Brendan, is I pick that vibe up, and like I'll play. It'll make me play harder, but then you can see it on stage. Like everyone's having more fun. Everyone's vibing off each other, and you can see that connection on stage, right? And I have to admit, a lot of that is from being pent up for a long time, and then finally being able to release that, and finding other players where you can release that with, right? And having that kind of cohesiveness as a unit where you're all kind of feeding off each other. And then with the new tracks that we're writing all together, like that really comes out, because now we're writing all together. Like Trick Casket started off as a solo project with Connor, and now we're all kind of collaborating a lot on these tracks, and that collaboration alone, when you play live, you really feel it, right? And you really, give it your all.
I'm getting the sense you've got quite a nice tight unit. You can flow back and forth, not just when you're playing the music, but creatively as well. Get some feedback on the themes, on the music too. What do you think of this? It was interesting you mentioned trip hop as well, Joey, because I've only recently started getting more into industrial and electronic music. Come to that in a moment, but from the bits I've heard so far, I thought some of the dark industrial beats, where I guess slower in a way. Not that it's not necessarily any less heavier. I always thought, man, this would even go with hip hop. Put an MC on that, it's perfect. It's kind of similar pattern.
Yeah,
and I've always wondered. I thought, well, why didn't anybody do that yet? Because it would give such like a dark edge to that music. Make it more sinister and nastier. And that would be cool to hear.
There's kind of a big resurgence, like guys like Ghost Main and stuff like that. They do a lot of that stuff where they start a lot of
this like kind of like, I guess it's like a new genre. I don't know if it's been around a while or not, but it's like, or maybe people are just noticing now. But there's like this bizarre genre where it's like hip hop industrial, where it's like it's just madness, like noisy industrial beats, and then people are like rapping over them, and I'm like, that's so cool. I love that. Horror,
the horrorcore,
Corpse Husband, like, dude, all those guys fucking rule.
I'm gonna have to check some of this out, because I'm a huge underground hip hop head as well.
Me too. Like I love, like that's also another thing that I try to like incorporate in whatever I'm writing. It's like people wouldn't recognize it, but I love hip hop. I'm a massive hip hop fan.
Hey man, you got Mad Child. Originally from up there. There used to be a good anarcho hip hop crew called Testale Logic. I don't know if they're still active. You had Max Silver's Tongue from way back in the day. Used to drop some really good freestyles. Another dude he collabed with who was Canadian as well, and now we're live. I forget the name, but people, it's funny, man. You mention that kind of, because people, they think because we're only exposed to like the mainstream and a lot of like against any reason about the mumble rap and trap and everything, and people think, right, that is just hip hop. And I say, no, there's a huge underground scene that's just as underground as any form of metal, punk, hardcore, and it's out there. It's just, if all the underground scenes face the same barriers, the same challenges. Any music does that's alternative and underground, whether it's jazz or whatever. And I say, just go and have a look.
Got an awesome underground hip hop scene.
Yeah.
I remember like I mean, it's a few months ago now. I think it was like back in like June, like May or June or something. I remember I came home and my roommate like leaves the University of Toronto radio station, CIUT. Yeah. He leaves that on in the background for his cat, just so his cat doesn't feel like lonely. But I came home one day and like on CIUT there was I'm like, oh, it's a shame I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but there was this Toronto hip hop artist, and I remember I walked in to my apartment at like 10 at night, just coming home, and then I'm like, I kind of like stopped. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, who is this guy? And then I had to look him up. He only has like 3 songs in total. I'm like, dude, I gotta get this guy more songs.
Can I put this open question to you both? It's just come to me since you were chatting about COVID, Joy. Do you think coming out of COVID, a positive thing that now we're seeing? I mean, I've never really cared. I'll say now, hey, I like this. Doesn't matter. But do you think now we're seeing more people and bands who are saying, hey, you know what? I'm actually a fan of this genre as well, this scene. We're not going to try and keep up. I'm not going to sit here, and I say this on every episode. It's kind of become my unofficial disclaimer. I'm not going to say I never went through my death metal phase. It was nothing else is real, all of that. And then thankfully, I mean, I still love the music, but now, I like lots of other stuff as well. So do you think we're seeing that more positively now because bands couldn't get out there and play? People just stuck in the room, man. Now is just saying, hey, there's a lot of music out there. So we're seeing more genre blending, doing shows together, saying, look, all this elitist stuff is just, man, that needs to go away. It's about the love of the music.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because we were just talking about that the other day, like how everything's so different now ever since then for music, right? The way people discover music, the way people consume it, and COVID had a lot to do with that, right? Because you couldn't, like way back in the day when I first started playing, there was no internet, there was no Spotify, there was no algorithms that suggested music to you. So you discover new bands by going to shows.
And always much older than me.
See the opening band, you're like, holy shit, they're awesome. And and it's but now it's like I discover all my new bands either on YouTube or on Spotify, right? And it sucks. I don't want to support Spotify, but you got nothing else really. But their algorithm does work. Like I find so much cool new shit, and especially during COVID, when I was stuck at home and I would just have it on random playlists, I found so many cool new bands, right? Yeah. Some of them local. And then now that things open back up, we're like going out to shows again, which is nice. And you're starting to see more and more people coming out to discover new music. One thing that's always blown my mind, especially with a lot of the new people in the scene is, you'll see them looking like the most hardcore metalhead, and then they're listening to the weirdest pop trap stuff, or like
Swifties for life.
Yeah, it's just it blows my mind sometimes. Or I'll see like someone that's like super goth, but then they're listening to Taylor Swift, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but it's awesome. Like it's awesome. Like
I went to work the other day, and I was walking down the street, and like on an everyday basis, I dress to the nines. I'm like, I'm a goth kid at heart. I love it.
Yeah.
In my headphones, I'm literally listening to Britney Spears. I fucking love Britney Spears.
Like I'm going to see Taylor Swift. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. Like I said, recently, I started exploring more electronic music. I've been listening to dark synth, dark techno, EBM. And back in my elitist, I guess, death metal, hack off it. No, damn, listen to that crap. It's not as underground as ours. It's not as.
Were you one of those guys in the comments of like metal sucks and stuff like that? And
dude, we're getting into that, man. It was terrible.
I hate that shit. It's and especially now, because like you said, like back in the day, or even before COVID, it still happens now, but there's a lot of elitists, especially in the metal community, and it's like.
especially in Toronto in general. The music
Well,
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's like how metal is one of those, like, I've been playing metal for so fucking long, and it's like it's that one genre of music that the fans don't really want to allow it to grow into something new. Right?
Yeah.
And whenever there is someone new that comes out that's trying to push the boundaries into, like, you know, bringing in trap or bringing in, there's a little while there where they're bringing in reggae into metal, and then there is, you know, or just like the newer stuff, like this new metal resurgence that's happening right now, and then so many elitist metalheads are like, fuck new metal sucks.
It never really went away though, to be honest.
No, it never did.
Yeah, I agree. It never really went away. New metal is always going to be there.
Yeah. And now look at, because of new metal, look at all these bands coming out that are wearing masks again, like we were talking about yesterday, our band chat, you know. And it's
here's the thing, right? Yeah, I used to be like that a long time ago, because I started on new metal, you know, and got showed some of the classic bands as well, and then got in the extreme, and then that was it. You know, that was law. And then one day I got out of that and I got more into my punk and hardcore, which is probably, look, I like a lot of music, but my favorite is definitely hardcore. Then it'll be death metal, underground hip hop, and then just bits of everything else, or whatever grabs me. Yes, I gravitate to the underground and everything because that's just what I prefer. There's just, like I've been saying, there just seems to be a rawness about it, and especially if it's dark, edgy music, and I hear that in industrial and dark synth and dark techno. So that, for me, for my taste, that grabs me. It's not that I can't appreciate anything else. I do listen to some melodic songs and the odd pop song as well, but mainly it's more the darker, edgier stuff. And then I was doing radio shows for punk, hardcore, extreme metal. I used to do a shoutcast kind of chat show like this, you know, except obviously we weren't on camera, a couple of course. I started talking with all these different people, absolutely from all over, all different backgrounds, getting into different music. And to be honest, I'm not saying everybody in these scenes are elitist. There's it's still a problem. Mm-hmm. And I get the sense of wanting to preserve the legacy, the sound. If it's a particular genre and you want it authentic, like, and you want it to sound, say, like Death Doom, for example, I get that. But then there's nothing wrong with, say, I mean, you mentioned reggae metal, Skindred, very famous example of that.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with bringing that in. We're seeing now the popularity of bands like Alien Weaponry, another one called Concrete Age, who are bringing in traditional, like, ethnic instruments, putting that in. Yeah, oh man, awesome band. Nothing wrong with that either. So I get it in wanting to preserve a genre, if you want that genre to sound like New York hardcore, for example, and bringing in something that is going to drastically alter that sound, then it's not New York hardcore anymore. It's something else, not necessarily bad. But
they aren't going anywhere. They can always listen to those bands.
Yes, exactly. I'll make that music. But there's nothing wrong with, say, hey, we're going to take a bit of this element and another one and make this genre, like we're seeing with the electro rock and electro metal that's got popular.
I was just going to say that,
etc.
That's all I've been listening to lately. And I was telling Connor, like, I'd sit down and be like, hey, listen to this. Like Wargasm UK, right? And I was like,
oh, what a good band. Holy shit.
And it's like this new electro punk thing, and there's so many cool bands coming, like, and they're pushing those boundaries. It's still heavy. It's just not traditionally heavy. It's not.
It's heavy. It's heavy in a different way. And a lot of that stuff has been around a long time. When you look at the history of it, it just has never been that popular, or it's been very underground. I mean, you've got a long-running band, God's Flesh, for example. In Iindustrial. So,
didn't you just go see them?
God's Flesh last week.
What were they like live? I've never seen them.
They're pretty cool. Yeah, it was like it was ungodly loud.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had earplugs, because I'm like, oh my god, it would melt your face off. It was so loud.
Oh man, I've got to check them. But my point where I was going with this, a very long one as well, is during COVID, I think it's forced many of us and people as a whole to look at ourselves. And I just thought, look, this YouTube channel has been sat dormant, done hardly anything with it. And I thought, right, let's rename it Fed Up, something short, snappy, comedic, always fed up about something. Come on the show, tell me why you're fed up, something like that. And then I was thinking,
Speaking my language.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man, I could rant for hours about.
Oh, you're welcome to. We'll get the interview part of the way, and then we'll go into Event Fest.
Yeah. You have to change the title from Trick Casket to like
yeah. Put the disclaimer out. Part 2, open rant session. And I was thinking, man. I thought, look, you listen to loads of extreme stuff, predominantly, grindcore, hardcore, death metal, etc. It's what you listen to a lot. But I thought, I want to open this show up to all genres of music, even genres. I've said this on every episode, and probably will keep saying it for quite a while. Even genres I don't like, it doesn't matter. I still want to talk to the people. I'm interested in why, what, how they create their art, what inspires them, what music they like, putting that bit of positivity out there as well. So I just started hitting up loads of contacts I've known for years, PR companies, labels, bands, just saying, hey, this is multi-genre, I open to anybody. Here's the open slots for a month. Who wants to come on?
Yeah.
Got that email from you, Joy, and honestly, you, as I said off in the emails, you were actually on my list to hit up because John sent me that press release. Shout out to John from Asher Media.
Yeah, John.
And I was, and with what I've been listening to recently, Mobius, for example, a really awesome dark house. And I thought, I'm going to hit these guys up because they'll help broaden the show, and I'm interested in what they do. And I hear that, that dark edge in your music. And then you emailed me literally the next day after I'd, so I thought, man, awesome stuff. So we'll turn the attention back to your music for a bit.
All right.
We'll go into more randomness and rants. So, one of the themes as well, in about the single is, and this I thought was interesting. It says the song's about a betrayal, and it's saying like, who is someone truly underneath? And I thought, no, this is why I find this interesting. And believe me, I'm having to behave myself a little here, because I know you're into horror and theater as well, which is absolutely awesome. Isn't that just a good play on both the personal and horror, real world experience combined with horror? Because it's like you can have something that looks very beautiful on the outside, and are they very evil, or do they have an agenda? There's something totally different. Are they a monster underneath, going on the horror side as well? So that's why I thought, man, this is very, very interesting. I like where they're going with it. Again, it says it's like this narrative into the struggles of depression, anxiety, anger, and frustration. A lot of these things that people have gone through in COVID, and not just COVID, even before that. So I thought all of these areas that the song is influenced by, I thought, well, that's very interesting for those reasons. So, what's always, appealed to you about that in the music? Has that always been kind of one of those questions like myself, is like, well, how can somebody be this on the outside and they turn out to be not the person who I thought they were?
Yeah. I like to, like, the way I like to kind of just like, I guess, like, just constructively get it out is when I throw on like a face of makeup and what have you, and I go on stage, I become like the true version of how I feel. And with that, and going off of that, it's like I feel like I'm a really good judge of character. So if I'm meeting someone for the first time, that very first like handshake, I can be like, all right, it's a good person, or I'll be like, oh, there's something sketchy about you.
Limp handshake.
I feel like that kind of like how I dress on stage. I feel like in a way I can see myself like looking like that behind whoever I'm meeting for the first time, or after a while kind of realizing someone's unsultry kind of patterns, being like, you should watch out for this.
yeah
because just theater.
yeah totally. It's sometimes in it you can it's a really hard one, because I always say like the strong handshake. If they've got a good firm handshake, that's a good sign, rather than like a limp, say, cold fish, where it's like nothing. I think why even bother shaking someone's hand if it's just going to be that. But then again, on the flip side, you can't always go by that either. Just because obviously they can do a good handshake doesn't mean that's a good sign of like they're going to be, you know, solid, reliable. You know, some can be very, very good and put on a theatrical sense here of being this character. I guess I'm referring to narcissists here, of somebody they ain't. It's going to suck that lifeblood out of everything. And you know, the funny thing is as well is this seems to be quite common now for material for inspiring musicians. I've noticed a lot now. Maybe this, like we were saying, has come from COVID, like forcing introspection on things in a kind of way. You know, a lot of people are writing about this now. I've seen lots of documentaries about it too. So I think the psychology of a person, why they do what they do, all of this will always be appealing and interesting to us, and is obviously good for a creative standpoint for musicians as well. With that said, the artwork, you know, the cover, where there is, you know, you see a woman's hand there clasping the vines. You've got that nice dark imagery, the white text on top of it. I'm curious, who did that for you? And did you work with them to bring that idea to life, or did they just come up with that idea and based on, you know, based on Filth and said, hey, this is what I've done. What do you guys think of it?
No, none of that.
Hey, loaded question for nothing.
I had that photo for years.
Whoa.
I'm talking like, I think 2017 or something, like somewhere around there.
Yeah,
I had that photo for years, and it's like it sounds so ridiculous now when I think about it, but when Filth was coming out, it was like everything was like handed in, everything was like scheduled, so Filth was like on its way out, and I realized at the 11th hour, I'm like, I don't have artwork. So I'm like, oh shit. You know what? It's a funny thing, because once I realized I didn't have any artwork, I opened my phone, and then I'm like, what do I have, or what can I make? And I grab my camera that's over yonder, and I'm like, what can I make? What speaks to me? And then I saw that photo, and I'm like, oh yeah. And for like, I don't really know why, but it resonated with me so much, where I'm like,
yeah.
Again, kind of like in introspection, where it's like it's this beautiful woman's hand clasping vines, and I'm like, that in itself is like metaphorical as hell.
It really is.
And then
seriously,
the second I saw that photo again, just buried in the depths of my phone, I'm like, I don't know, something told me where it's like, yeah, that's the artwork.
Yeah.
And then I just, you know, put a red filter over it.
Yeah.
But like,
it matches the video, and it matches the tone, it matches the message, and
it's so bizarre, because even when I think about it, I'm like, I have no idea why that particular photo just like essentially called out to me, because the second I saw it, I'm like, that's the artwork. That makes total sense, and I have no idea why.
Just meant to be fit. So I went on that loaded question rant.
Yeah.
It was like, no, it's quite simple actually.
But, no, it's good, because even we were talking to our designer buddy, he was like, that photo's perfect. He's like, that it suits the video, it suits the tone,
suits the lyrics.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. This is coming from a guy we know that's like super hypercritical about everything and usually bashes everything, but he was like, no, that was perfect. He's like, you guys did it right.
Don't you think when we're creating things ourselves, though, we're the worst critics?
Oh,
because we're never happy with anything we're doing ourselves. It's like, no. I'm terrible for that, man. So with that being said, then, how do you get past those difficult moments where you're writing your music and songs and you're in that part where like, man, I'm just not feeling this. I'm not happy with this. Is it literally just taking a step back, taking their feedback from the rest of the band and seeing, look, them say, no, this is fine. We can tweak it in this area or take this part out, because I can relate. If, you know, like when I was at college doing creative writing and stuff, I was just times, don't like this, just don't like it, you know.
Taking a step back is definitely a massive part of it.
You're good at receiving feedback and criticism, though. Like,
I try to be the best that I can.
Yeah, like it's funny because we were talking about that last night at the bar.
Yeah,
and because of our past experiences working with other bands, where sometimes that feedback and criticism isn't always received that well.
Yeah.
For various reasons, right?
Yeah.
But working with Trick Casket was always awesome because Connor usually takes it really well, and then as a band we'll kind of step back, and it could be criticism from, you know, someone at a label or a booking agent or you know, something a fan said, or whatever the case is. But we'll actually take a step back and kind of look at it and be like, all right, and the important thing is not to take it personally, right? And then
you want the best for the song. You want the best for the message that you're getting across. And like having those, like having like Joey, having Evan, having Brendan, having even just our close like friendship circle, if the message that I want to get out is not reaching our inner circle and it's not working, it's like, take a step back and be like, all right, so something's not working. Let's try to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's a good thing that you're able to do that, because as you said, Joey, with past bands, not everyone can do that. It can lead to bands then breaking up and taking it personal. I get constructive criticism done in the right way is there's nothing wrong with it. If someone then makes it personal, well, that isn't criticism, then they're just going on an attack. I mean, but I think if you're in any kind of music or art for that matter, or even a relationship, you've got to be able to, you can put that feedback across in a constructive way.
Of course, and that's something that
you've got to be able to
that
listen.
was the biggest thing I learned out of that, right? Was how do I communicate that in a constructive way rather than in a direct or blunt way that's not always received well, especially artists, right? Like we're all artists, we're all sensitive creatures. Like,
we're all sensitive as
hell.
Of course.
No, fuck. That's why we're doing this in the first place. So, you know, something that a buddy of ours, actually, funny enough, the DJ who was playing last night, DJ Dwight, you know, and he's working with us a lot on a management level. And he, you know, it's something that he'd always tell me. It's like, because him and I work are in our day jobs, we're business guys. And what he taught me was, you know, sometimes you have to, even though I'm an artist, sometimes my business kind of mind gets ahead of me, and I'll communicate in a way that artists don't always receive that very well. Right. I'm lucky because Connor doesn't care, because he just laughs it off. He's like, "Oh, just shut the fuck up, Joey." But like, you know, and that's usually like our band chat is usually a lot of "shut the fuck up, Joey." But
that's a name for another band.
But that's something I had to learn was, okay, like how do I communicate this in a constructive way where I'm not being insulting, and I'm not, you know, because that has ruined relationships that I've had in other bands, because sometimes I could be too direct, or I could be too
blunt,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to do what's best for the band, right? Yeah. But that was one of the biggest takeaway lessons I had to, you know, in the previous bands I've worked in, is like, okay, how do I word this in a way or say this in a way that's, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, piss someone off or hurt their feelings. Like especially if it's something that they worked on really hard.
Yeah.
I shouldn't just come up and be like, yeah, that sucks. Let's do it like instead, right? Because I have done that. I'd be like, this fucking sucks. Like, what are you thinking when you wrote that, or what are you thinking when you did this design, or what do you know?
You know what? Like going off of that, Joey, it's like kind of getting past, like whenever I get stuck writing a song, one of the most beneficial things that like us as a whole band have really like found is that a good friend of ours, Brett Carruthers, he's he plays in Birthday Massacre. His solo band is A Primitive Evolution. He produced Filth with us, and he produced the new single that we're going to release down the line. But I really like Brett because he's the nicest guy. He's the nicest fucking guy. Yeah. But he has no problem looking at me and being like, dude, this sucks. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
And he does. He like
working. But he does it in a way that's like it was awesome watching him work with you in the studio because he really pushed you outside your comfort zone vocally.
Yeah.
He was like, why don't you try it like this, or try and be quiet at this part and then really scream over here, and you know what I mean? And he really pushed you to the next level as a vocalist. And I thought that was really cool, and watching that was really cool, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all in the delivery, I think, how you do it. And again, but you took it really well, right? Like you didn't sit back and be like, well, I wrote it like this and I want it like this.
It's like,
you know what, this might make sense.
Yeah, and like going right off that, it's like if I'm getting feedback for a song, or if like Brett, God bless his heart, he's like, the demo of Filth that I brought to him, he's like, it's cool. This part really sucks though.
Yeah, you knew the butt was coming.
Yeah.
So how did he say it? This part? Yeah, we'll just work a little longer on this part. Yeah, like that, right?
And like, you know what? It's like, as an artist, you need that. You need that person to be like, this sucks. Let's work together and make it as good as it possibly can be. And with Brett, I'm like, I have learned, and I continue to learn so fucking much from Brett.
Yeah.
Especially like in music production and performing as an artist, and taking my lumps when I need them. Because
Brett's band, they just got off tour with Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like they've been doing great.
I have to drop me some links, man.
Yeah, we can send you a lot of the stuff. Yeah. Especially if you're getting into that newer kind of synthwave stuff.
And,
but the darker stuff, that's the kind of shit he works on a lot.
But whenever it's a brand new experience for me, because it's everything I wrote before has been like only me, and the best to my abilities, the best to whatever equipment I have on hand.
Yeah.
But going in with Brett, it's like whenever I felt stuck on a song, Brett had these genius ideas on what to change, and I'm like, oh my god, this feels amazing.
And that's it's interesting because that's one of the biggest things I learned as an artist. For again, I've been doing this for a while, and working with a producer, a lot of artists have a hard time with that, right? Because a producer's job is to help take your song to the next level. And as an artist, sometimes we write songs and we're like, oh, this is the best thing ever. But then you'll sit with a producer and they'll be like, no, let's rearrange this. Let's take this out completely. This isn't adding any value to the song, whatever. And sometimes that's really hard to hear, right? And in my previous band, we worked with an amazing producer as well in Nashville, Mitch Marlowe, who really,
shout out to Mitch Marlowe.
Oh, he's incredible. He's incredible. And that band is Phantom High. Check them out. They're amazing. And the stuff that he did to those songs, like how he rearranged them and rewrote certain parts and did the stuff, like I was like, holy shit, this is what a producer does. And so then when we're working with Trick Casket, I was like, you know what? Let's work with Brett and see if he can give us that same kind of experience. And he did. He knocked it out of the park. And that was exactly, I think, what we needed to take our stuff to that next level, right? For like, not only from a production point of view, but even songwriting, vocally, drumming. Like, he came up with drum parts that I was like, I wouldn't have thought of. And I was like, shit, let's do that. And I'd sit there with the cymbals and do all that stuff. And it was,
he came up with like Brett's a vocalist, like through and through as well. So it's nice to kind of like relate on that kind of level. But I mean, he soars above me, first of all. But it's like some of the ideas that he had, I'm like, like certain parts, especially on this new song that we're working on right now. Like it's unreleased, but I mean, I've had this iteration of the song for going on 8 years and it never got released. But bringing it to Brett, I'm like some of the ideas he comes up with, I'm like some of them are like a no-brainer. They're just like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then some of them I'm just kind of like, I'm like, really? But then after like an hour, and then once I see it all come together, I'm like, oh my God, what a good idea.
Yeah, like putting the tribal drums in the middle of an industrial song, you know.
Oh man, I'm intrigued already. Oh man.
Yeah. It's kind of neat. Like it's subtle, but it's there, right? And then Gregorian chants and stuff. Just,
oh man, awesome.
Yeah, so Brett was the best because this new song that we're working on, it's like we completely scrapped the entire bridge after the second chorus. We scrapped the entire thing, and then you know, like me, like myself, Joey, Brett, and Evan, we were just like, we're sitting in the studio, just spitballing ideas, like what we could do. And then all these random ideas that we come up with, Brett would actually like enact them and start putting them together. And then suddenly, like, it's like all four of us were just like, dude, what? This is great. Yeah. So yeah, there's tribal drums for some reason, but it sounds great.
Hey, but that fits with what we were saying about what you were saying, Joey. Sorry, about genre pushing those boundaries. Yeah. And I'm getting the sense here, this is so good to have someone like that around you. Because he can give you that fresh input, challenge you as artists, get you to think in a different way and say, well, what about this? Let's do this approach. So that is worth its weight in gold to have someone like that around you. And then that's like, no, I'm going to bring that best out. It's like in anything, if you've got a good coach, good instructor, or just somebody who can bring in that good energy. It's funny. This is kind of like the song, like Filth. We can see that could be about the wrong person or wrong people, or about a person who used to be the wrong kind of person. Yeah, in the lyrics there, and this is kind of, you've got the positive opposite to that. The right person around you who's challenging you, who's bringing it out of you. I remember when I was doing creative writing at college. I did screenwriting with it as well, and the guy who took that course, he was from the States. I can't remember whereabouts. And one thing he used to do, at the end of each class, he'd say, right, we had to do like, write an example. Say you would be pretending you're going to write a feature movie or something. So we'd have to do all the storyboard and script, etc. Every single lecture, we'd get us round, get all the chairs around in a small circle. Right, tell me where you are. Why is this going to happen? Why is this character going to say, do this to this character, whatever, get from A to B? And if you couldn't do that, and he'd said, if you can't sell that to me, how is anybody else going to be able to get that as well if you can't? And he'd say, and then somebody be like, one more week, and if you still can't come up with that reason why, that's it. Trash that idea onto something else. But you know what? I really appreciated that. I was grateful for it because it was someone challenging you, and he wasn't like I say, he could be very direct, but it was still it was in the right way, if that makes sense. Some people would be like you were saying about Brett, it could be blunt, but you knew the guy wasn't being nasty. He had your best interests at heart, and he wanted to bring the best out of you. And he used to, we had to go for like meetings with him, right, where are you at with your assignment, how has it gone, etc., in the brief, blah blah blah. And he would say, right, that just sucks, that's not going to work, let's do something different here. He wasn't being like a pompous ass with it or anything like that. And those kind of people, they're good because it's like those sports coaches as well, who can be like that, because they turn those players into better players and bring the best out of them. So this sounds like you've got a good guy around you. I'm already excited hearing about what he's getting you in to put in this new single, and you've already got my brain thinking, man, I've got to get these guys back on at another time to do a deep dive on about that single in the full. And I'm not saying I'm wrapping it up yet. It's just because I'm not. It's just my nerdy imagination.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
It's exciting. This new stuff has been really exciting, especially like the process that we're using is so new for Trick Casket, which has been a lot of fun. You know, creatively, it's been great, and it's for me, especially as a drummer, it's been awesome because, you know, a lot of times now, the drums are done electronically, right? Most metal albums you hear now, those aren't the real drummers. Like, there's the odd few that still use real drums, but the truth is, the drums are so fucking expensive to record and so annoying that now they usually program them and they use actual real drum samples. But for Filth and this new one, like, we actually did record the drums, which is great. And so for me, it's been awesome because the last couple bands I've been in, we did all the drums. We did like we programmed them. Like I would program them with the producer, but it still kind of lacks that human feel to it, right? And with, even though we're an industrial metal band, so we kind of mix, you know, those electronic elements with the live elements, and it works really well. And that's the one thing I really loved about Filth, is that it's got the electronic elements in it as well.
Yeah.
But it still feels like a raw.
It feels like a band song.
Raw, yeah. Especially when I did those blast beats in the middle.
It's got that heaviness. Definitely has.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how long did it take you all to film the video and get that together? Because I like, you know, the effects you've got in there. It's got that you know, raw edge, even in a way. And I'm going to show some of my nerdy interests outside of horror here by saying this, but it's almost like got that kind of dark cyberpunk edge to it as well. I know that's just kind of what maybe that's just me, because my brain just goes crazy.
That video was funny because
that video was the most unplanned plan that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Some of those are the best.
Yeah.
Because we wanted a simple video. We wanted like just a performance piece, no storyline. But it was, once we got in there with our guitar player Evan, like a longtime friend of his named Corey Bernard, he directed it. And when we got to where we're shooting, he had so much equipment, so many different lights, like all over the place. And then it's like we had a basic kind of like script per se, but essentially like on site, we're kind of spitballing ideas again. we're like, what looks cool?
Yeah, we had like a rough shot plan. It's like, okay, we know we need individual shots. We need some full band shots.
But that was a cool thing about the video though, because we did many takes. I think altogether the entire video took around like 8 hours to film.
Whoa, that's quite fast though.
Yeah, but I really
that's including the teardown and stuff. Like the actual shooting was even less than that, right?
Wow.
So, part of the video that I really like is that, you know, we all had like, we filmed individual kind of like just scenes where it's just us like performing to the song. But what I really liked that we started with, and I thought was like, it was so cool, it's like we performed the song as a band.
Yeah.
We're actually playing on that live. Like that's like a nice rehearsal space that we were in. So we actually had everything going through the PA. We're actually playing it.
And I felt so bad for Corey, because
when
we're playing, when we did like the band shots, when we're all actually like performing the song, like poor Corey, he's coming in for like close shots with his camera, and it's like, since we're performing the song and I'm belting it as loud as I can, I'm spitting all over the guy. I'm like, I just met you and I'm gonna spit all over you. I felt so bad.
Yeah, it was cool. And then we did some great shots, and then Evan took it back, and Evan, our guitar player, is the one that actually edited the video and then spliced in all the all that other, you know, cool imagery that's in there. And it was really cool. And for me, it was such a contrast because I had just shot a video with another band before, and that was a full production. Like there's a full crew. There's a storyboard for it, a director on site that was like telling us what to do. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And we were like, with Trick Casket, we're like, okay, how can we do something similar but for a fraction of the cost? And we did. We pulled it off, and it was a lot of fun. Because we're just there. We had some beers in the fridge, and we're just having 5 guys in the room, and we just got it
such
done.
a fun day. Oh my god, that was a blast to make that video.
Yeah. So now, even last night, we were talking. We met. It's funny. We met with the director that did the last video, the big production video that I just did, and he wants to come and shoot like our next one. So we were talking a little bit about that, and he had some pretty cool ideas. Yeah, I won't say them now, but yeah, he had some cool ideas. I was like, that might work.
Yeah.
But he was talking at the bar last night, and some of the ideas that he was just like shooting off the top of his head, I'm like, there's a couple of moments where I'm like, wait, what? That's actually kind of cool. Like, don't throw that away.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if we could pull it off. And he wants to do it in the next 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah. Well, again, people challenge you, bringing the best out of you. Very, very curious. Yep. Video, nice to see you've got that authenticity again, not just with the playing, but you've got the authentic spit there, literally.
Yeah.
Showering that guy.
Yeah.
And there's an experience he'll remember. What another part in the lyrics as well. I'm going to ask you about some of the influences on your vocals, Connor, as well, and the love of horror, which I love to nerd with you both about. But this particular part in the lyrics also I thought was really good, where it's these two parts. It says, "My mind confines, it always tries. Patience dies, our broken ties. You take and take, your act so fake. The trust you break, but I won't ache." And I think, again, as you were saying earlier, it can be open to interpretation about someone we've encountered or a person we used to be or on people around you. But I thought that is so universally relatable to anybody who's been in that kind of situation, whether personally or professionally, because as I was saying, there's those type of people around you. I mean, there's those type of people, out there, both in the work world and in our personal lives, that can, it can be a person you go to and you confide in them. You think, this is the person I can trust. I can share all my fears and everything with them. And then, you're not expecting, let's say, that person then to use that as a weapon against someone, to gaslight them in a sense, or for an agenda. And it's like you're saying about patience dies. You've always been trying to reach a compromise, trying to, in a business sense, get that work colleague to see your perspective, to see your side, where you're going with that. But it seems to be like those people are just kind of like energy vampires, just taking and taking and taking. And again, more interpretations where we can go with this. Other people maybe not see that, and they think, oh, no, that person's not like that. They don't come across like that at all. And then that feeds into that line, the trust you break, but I won't ache. It's like, no, you've kind of taken everything from me. You've sucked those positive essences out of me. I'm not going to try and ache over this, let that affect me. So that I thought was really powerful stuff, because it's so real and so relatable. And I think, as I was saying earlier, a lot of people have been in similar situations like that, both professionally and personally. And perhaps somebody could listen to the song Filth who may be in that current situation in some way. So I just, again, wondered with that part, with those two lines, again, did that just, and I appreciate I'm not asking you to go into all of this personally, but was that influenced by things either that you've experienced or seen around you and thought, right, this has just come out in my writing and I want to put this out there?
Yeah, on the nose, really. Yeah, that was like that particular lyric was it's like going through the motions, and then that particular lyric was I wrote that the day, actually. I wrote that lyric. I let go of a friendship, and that was a moment of catharsis. So that's when I wrote that part.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, the part where it's like, I won't ache, because I'm like, no, I know who you are now, dude. So I'm like,
yeah,
now that I know, and took the time to kind of feel that out and accept that, I'm like, there's no coming back from this. And once I accepted that, that's when I wrote the lyric, and it was just a moment of catharsis where I'm like, yeah, like I'm not going to ache over this. It's like people like you exist all over the fucking world. So I'm like, that was a moment. That was essentially the moment where I was just like, I've accepted it, and I started to move on. You know?
Yeah, and it's and writing as well, and you know, there's joy as well, even playing the drums. It's a healthy way to get rid of those negative emotions, negative experience, to help deal with it. Therapeutic in a way. Even just getting this out there, and sometimes, like, I'm sure you do this, Connor, when you're writing your lyrics as well, where you can just write and it's kind of total freestyle, no plan there. I don't know where I'm going to go with this. You back and think, right, this might not make sense, but you can take bits out of it and think, right, and then get some song lyrics out. I'll take this element, take that, because it's just that natural feeling, just the right where I'm going to go with it. Just always find that so fascinating with bands. So I'm curious. I wanted to ask you this earlier. The little I know from what I've been hearing with Iindustrial and some of the darker sides of electronic music that I've recently been getting into, but particularly in Iindustrial, it seems to be one of those genres that's very versatile and can fit a multitude of music, you know, not just metal. We mentioned hip hop earlier, even drum and bass. I would imagine you could meld Industrial quite easily with drum and bass.
Oh,
and that's got me thinking of Sardonic now, who does that. So what do you both think is it about Industrial that makes it so versatile?
I think it's in a way where it's the most like accessible, inaccessible music in a way, because it's like you got your top 40, which is mostly electronic music, let's face it.
Yeah.
And then you have the underground, kind of just the dark side. So it's like you already have that kind of olive branch to kind of grasp off, because it's already electronic music. It's just a little darker. It might be a little angrier, but that's the olive branch is already there. And then I mean, if you're a metalhead, or it's like you're super into punk, it's like the attitude is there. The attitude and the emotion is still there.
Yeah.
Because it's heavy in its own right. Like you said earlier, it's like it might be like just a 4 to the floor beat with some electronics on it, but it's heavy in its own right. And especially like the lyrical content that comes from industrial music these days. It could be like 9 Inch Nails does it, where it's very personal. It's very personal to Trent, right? But you can turn around and go to like Frontline Assembly or like Three Teeth, for instance, and be like or Ministry. Ministry is the top of the game of this, where it's just like it's highly political, just mocking the hypocrisy of today's world and just going through the motions of that. So it's like it can cover so many different topics.
Yeah.
And it has a little bit of like a reach to every single other kind of genre that's out there. I think it's highly accessible genre.
Yeah, it's accessible. It's when I was showing my girlfriend a lot of EBM stuff. So she's into EDM, which is more like just traditional
dance music.
And then when I told her about EBM, she was like, "Well, what's that?" And I was like, "Well, it's basically EDM but darker."
Yeah, literally.
Stuff. She was like, "Oh, it's almost like it's a 4 on the floor beat. It's got more synths. It's got a different vocal style, but a lot of that
1 2 4 2.
A lot of that bass is the same, right? Like it follows a lot of that same kind of format, and it's you're talking about drum and bass, and it's something that so we recently added Brendan, a bass player that I've been playing with for the last 20 years or so. And him and I have done a lot of that drum and bass and jungle stuff.
Ooh.
And we were talking about how we're like, we should pitch some of that to Connor and see if he'd be down and putting some drum and bass mixed with industrial. But also have this kind of cool live instrument feel.
Yeah.
And see how we can kind of play off that, right? So Connor, that's
and
I know what we're gonna pitch you, but
I'm super into that because it's like I love every genre of music. Obviously, I have my preferences.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
it's like you know what? I'm still a massive fan of like 2010 to like 2013 era of like dubstep. I put a lot of.
Yeah.
If you actually like listen to Filth, even there's dubstep in there.
Mm-hmm.
You got like the growls in there, so it's like I love dubstep. I love drum and bass. So I'm like, just hearing that, I'm like, oh, that could be cool. Why not?
But it's that's the cool thing about Iindustrial is that with that foundation, it's easy to start bringing in other elements, right? Like stuff that you wouldn't traditionally mix with Iindustrial. And we're talking about before, we're starting to see more and more of that genre bending that's happening, right?
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
That's something I learned in the last band I was in, was just genre as like genre is almost dead in a way, right?
Yeah.
And like I hate labeling myself by saying, "Oh, I'm a metal guy."
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
goth guy or whatever. It's like, nah, I'm just a rocker, I guess. Like, because I play and listen to everything, and it's hard to put one specific genre on a lot of the music that we're playing right now, right? Like one comment I thought was always funny with Trick Casket, with this new stuff we've been doing, it's like everyone coming to our shows are like, wow, you guys have really changed your sound. And it's like, yeah, I guess we're playing a lot heavier now. Like that's for sure. But at the same time, we're still working on those what do you call them, like club bangers, you know, like more electronic stuff. But we're just mixing it all up together and trying to get rid of that genre, you know, or that label, right? And it's interesting because even like if you look at some of the shows we've been playing lately, like we're starting to get booked with these bands that are, you know, like classic EBM or industrial bands, but a lot of them are more electronic. And so right now we have a great show coming up with Empathy Test, and
that's a good name.
And they're very electronic, their sound, right, and a little softer than we are. So it's kind of made us, you know, examine our set and be like, okay, how do we, you know, take some of our more electronic stuff, get them in the set, so that it's not a jarring experience for the crowd that's going to be there, right? So if we come out doing like blast beat stuff or like super intense double bass metal, which is
break them in gently,
you know, it's we don't want to, we do want to blow their faces off, but at the same time, we want to, you know, ease them into it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that as a band we can start doing that, right? Especially nowadays with a lot of the kids that are consuming that kind of music, they're looking for stuff that, you know, is a little bit more different, right? So if you look at bands like, I don't know, and your crowd will probably hate me for saying this, but like if you look at bands like Bring Me the Horizon, Architects, Bad Omens, like all these bands that were once metal and now they're crossed over and they're doing all this weird kind of genre bending, right? You know, like Bad Omens are doing all this weird electronic.
Bad Omens is a great example. Like that band is, they're going all over the place. You don't
all
really know,
and they're awesome at it. And like and Bring Me the Horizon, I'm not the hugest fan of them, but I do respect them because every album they're doing something completely different, which, you know, some people will argue and say it's alienating their fan base and stuff like that. I'm like, well, you know what? Who cares? They're doing it and they're doing it well, and it made them fucking huge. Like if they kept doing their I don't even know what it was before, metalcore or whatever it was. I don't know. They're doing some pretty heavy stuff before. Metalcore is not that heavy, but had they stayed in that genre for the elitists, they wouldn't have grown to be as big as they are now.
They won't be as big as they are now.
The funny thing is with that, man, right? Firstly, don't care about audience not liking it, whatever. I say it and I'll repeat it again. Fed Up is multi-genre. It is for everybody. I don't care. Look, I'm not a fan of Bring Me the Horizon.
No.
At all. I really aren't. But I'm not going to waste my time hating on that band. And if I know a band wanted to come on who sounded like Bring the Horizon, early material, and now, even though it's not what I like, I will still talk to them. It really doesn't matter. So don't worry about that. because I want this to be multi-genre, about people. We can
Yeah.
have the conversations which we're having. To hell with all those scene roles and whatever. And I'm saying this as a predominantly hardcore guy in death metal, and well, I'll say hardcore punk, extreme metal guy, yeah, but I do like other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so below all that, I get it sometimes when, and then this gets what I think I was saying earlier about preserving the sound of a particular style, I guess, if it's like sludge, for example. There's still nothing wrong with bringing other elements in, you know, so it stops you stagnating. I get that. But if a band wants to go in a different direction and say, look, we want to evolve, we don't want to just play this anymore, we're going a different direction. There's been so many bands who've done that. Then there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if it's a fan that say prefers the earlier sound and say, yeah, I prefer the earlier sound where they're going now, that's not for me. But anyone still has the right to do that. It's like, okay, I could say, right, I only want to talk to extreme metal all the time or hardcore constantly in every show, as much as I love that music, and I do, but it can get boring. I want it to be open,
right? Like you want to stir the pot a little bit. You want to. That's how you're going to learn, and that's how you're going to expand your mind. That's how you're going to expand your interests.
Yeah, you know, be closeted then in one particular avenue. And man, if you sorry, go on, Joey. I'm cutting you off.
I was just going to say, and that's what I love about music right now is that people are more accepting to that kind of change, and you know. There are still the elitists out there that are gonna judge you for it, but I like even in Trick Casket, like I love that we can do that. Like every song is different. Like even I don't know if you heard some of the earlier stuff.
Yeah,
but, like there are some super heavy songs. Like
they definitely are.
And Villain and
Blistered.
Yeah. What was the other one? Not Voices. It's the one that we opened with.
Your Failure.
Yeah. They're super heavy, but then he'll have like some super dancey, like 4 on the floor, like EBM stuff, and it's cool that we can
like Let You Die after a metal banger, and some people were like, "Oh wait, I was headbanging, now I'm dancing." All right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your rest song.
That's well for me. That's exactly what it is, right? Because all of a sudden, I play a song like Blistered. My legs are shot because that song is like straight double bass from start to finish. It doesn't stop. My feet don't stop once. It's just like the whole fucking thing. And so then going to the dance stuff, it's nice because it's just the 4 on the floor and I can sit back and relax, let my legs breathe. But I love that, and I love that you can do that, and I love that music is going in that genre direction. Like, have you heard that Kim Dracula guy?
I haven't, no, but this is another one you're gonna have to put in these like links for me, man.
All over the fucking map. Like he'll go from like death metal.
That guy is so bizarre. He'll put like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different genres in one song.
Wow.
Within
the most bizarre shit I've ever heard.
Wow.
And he does it great.
I don't know if I like it or not. It's like he'll go from like death metal to dance to trap to
acoustic,
like 90s Chili Peppers funk, and then back to like it's so weird, and I like it but I hate it at the same time, and I'm like, but you know what, he's blowing up because of it, and it's really interesting because
it's refreshing.
It's different, and it's like I hope we as a band we keep expanding that way and keep broadening our style, like, and it's cool because even some of the stuff we're writing now, it's almost like a throwback to like old Ministry or like even dare I say old Manson. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of interesting that we're able to do that, but trying to throw in a fresh kind of perspective on it. You know?
Do you know what I think has been, like we were saying, with like the positive, I guess, from COVID with music. And I think with the whole elitism, there's people like, and when I've said this to people, I went through that phase with death metal, and other people have said, oh, we've all gone through that. The danger is some people stay in that mindset, don't grow from it, don't awake, if you like, in that sense, and get out of that thinking. And I think because of things that have been happening politically, and still are happening politically, and how on social media can, well, anti-social media as I nickname it, can bring out the worst. You see it in everything, people raging at each other over movies, sports, whatever it is. I think both the bands, musicians, and those of us who are genuine fans are so tired of that. We're just like, look, we can disagree. We don't all have to like the same thing, believe the same thing, or whatever.
Yeah.
But threatening someone with violence or whatever else, I'm like, come on, man, that's just dumb. That's just stupid.
Over your song.
Yeah. You're not true because you like whatever. I'm like, dude, I always say this. Look, I am a extreme metal guy, hardcore guy, and underground hip hop guy. Those are my three bases, if you like, what I like. But I do like other music outside of that. And it's funny how, say if it's something very melodic or even not metal, like can be some soul, but whatever it is, something like really beautiful piece of music, say there's no aggression in it or anything, and somebody like, oh, how can you listen to this because you're used to listening to, and I'm said, because I like it, I can. I am not constantly, and anyone who says, I listen to it a lot, and I do, but anyone who says that's the only thing they are listening to 24/7, no, I know I'm going off on a rant, but
do you know how much shit I get? Because one thing about
corn?
Well,
yeah. How dare you like corn? I mean,
how could you call yourself industrial if you like corn?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm one of those guys that actually I love 50s and 60s, even some 40s actually.
It's like roots music, isn't it?
Country.
Yeah.
The dark, like really bizarre stuff. It's like you got your.
Dude, I got to take you to Nashville. It'll blow your mind.
Well, you've got Southern Gothic as well. That underground version of country, like that dark country.
You got the Bigs, you got Dolly Parton, you got Johnny Cash, but then you have like Roy Orbison, Hank Williams, and Chris Christopherson as well. I'm like, all that shit. I'm like, for me. I'm like, that's the good country. And then every time I throw it on, people are like, why the fuck are you listening to this?
Yeah. Hey man, I was one of those guys up until recently, and I hated country with a passion. My girlfriend fucking loves country. We couldn't be the more opposite.
I don't like new country. I like 40s.
No, we went to so I was recording an album in Nashville, and which is like the home of country music, and I went walking around there, and it kind of changed my perspective on that, right? Not only did it change me as a musician as a whole, but walking around that city and hearing country and rock, and now there's a lot of metal in Nashville now. It kind of gave me a whole new respect for it, especially when I went to the Country Music Hall of Fame and just walked around there and saw that just the sheer history of music itself and how big of a part country played in that. It was really interesting, and I never in a million years would have liked it. And then I found myself going to country bars and like just having a blast. And there'd be all kinds and it's weird because Nashville was one of those cities where we're talking about elitism. That, in my experience, that didn't happen there. And that's one thing my producer said. He was like, yeah, man, because he moved there from LA. A lot of the LA music scene is moving to Nashville. And they were saying, this is the one city where you could walk around, you could be the most diehard metalhead, and you're going to be having a beer with this, old school country singer, and then a hip hop guy. Yeah. And you guys will just be like having a blast. There's none of this like
give a props to a hip hop
genre hate or anything like that. And I was like, that's fucking cool. And he's like, and it's not fake. It's genuinely not fake. Like when people are like, let's go hang out and have a beer together, they actually go and do it. Right. Whereas I find in cities like Toronto's really bad for this. I don't know if it's like that in the UK.
Yeah.
But I know, like New York could be bad for that. LA is really bad for that. Where it's
London the same.
Very pretentious. Yeah. And if you're caught hanging out with someone outside of your scene, like they sit there and bash you online and forums groups and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, if we had been, if we had been caught hanging out with country people, or any kind of people outside of the goth scene, they would like, someone would be posting shit about it and be like, oh my God, do you believe Joey and Connor were doing this and fucking playing country?
They're so fake. They're poses.
Yeah.
Years ago, I got dragged because I'm like, it's like I like everything. Like obviously, industrial metal is my preference, but I like everything. And I got dragged online a little bit, unprovoked, because it's like a really big problem with Toronto here right now is the I guess the goth alternative scene. I don't know what happened, but suddenly everyone's just, if you don't listen to only goth music and only post-punk, it's like they'll lash out at you. It's unbelievable.
It used to be different. It used to be so thriving, and it was one of the biggest goth alternative scenes in North America. And and something changed in the last 15 years where it's become really toxic. And but I'm finding it's not just a Toronto problem. The more people I talk to outside of the city, it's a problem
kind of everywhere. Yeah, and it's like, it's like I bring that up because it's like it's a shame, really, because it's like
it is.
I'm a music fan. I'm not. I'm an industrial fan, but above all, I'm a music fan. I want to share all this cool shit that I'm listening to with everyone around me. And people like they stick their nose up at it. I'm like, it's a shame. It's a shame. Well, music is the most healing thing in the world.
It's interesting because one of the most profound experiences I had was one time I was in New York, and my buddy and I, we were just walking around the Lower East Side of New York where all the rock and roll bars are, and we were just kind of bar hopping, and we walked in and they all had live bands in them, and we walked into one bar, and as a test, we were like, we just walked out, we made friends with people. We're like, who are you here to see? And they're like, what are you talking about? And we're like, well, what band are you here to see? And they're like, we're just here to see live music. I was like, what? Really? And they're like, yeah, we don't care who's playing. We just want to see live music. I was like, that's fucking awesome. I
want to see a band.
And then I found Nashville was exactly like that, where when I walked around there, and I was just there like a few months ago, and you walk around the bars there, first of all, every bar, every restaurant, there's a live band playing. And it's on constant rotation. It doesn't stop. It starts at 11 a.m. until like 3 a.m. Just band. And the bars don't pay the bands. The people do. So they'll have a tip jar in the front, and people just tip. And then every table will have like a menu of songs that you can request with your phone. And they'll get like a text or a Venmo thing. And you pay like, I want to hear Leonard Skinner, and they'll send it up or whatever, and they pay for it. And these bands are making so much money doing this, like from the people. And again, the people are just there to watch live music, and they're packed. Every club is packed starting at noon until the end of the night, and it's nonstop. And I was like, I started talking to some of the musicians, and I'm like, are you making any money doing this? They're like, yeah, like I just bought a house, I'm like, but it took them a while. Like it would take them a year or two to build up that fan base. But I was like, man, that is so fucking cool that you can just, that people are there to enjoy live music and enjoy seeing real musicians playing. And that like had such a profound impact on why I'm doing this in the first place. And I was like, this is fucking cool. And I find like a lot of the cities, there are some cities out there, mostly the big staples like Toronto and LA, and it's probably like that, and it might be like that in London. I don't know. But where people are kind of pretentious, and now it's hard to get people out to live shows because a lot of times people are only going to shows, and I'll probably get crucified for saying this, but a lot of people are only going to shows just to be seen at the show, just to post it on Instagram or TikTok and be like, hey, look, I'm at the show.
Get the same points.
Right?
Yeah.
And, we've got a friend here in Toronto. His name's Miles. He's an amazing photographer. And that guy, he goes, and I wish there was more Miles in the world, because like he's this guy, he's trying to break the record of how many metal shows he goes to, or how many shows in general. Nice. And that guy's creeping on 1,000 shows this year alone. It's insane.
Every like day 3 shows a night.
2 shows.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, I wish there was more. And back in the day, it was like that. Like more people were like that. But it's nice to know that there are still people out there that enjoy coming to see bands. They don't care about genre. They just want to support live music. And that's the kind of fans that I wish there was more of. And, it makes you want to do it. Like, they're the guys that make you want to do this kind of stuff.
And that was a thing I noticed. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time, but I went to Germany a few years ago, and it's like here in Canada. I don't know. I can't speak for the UK, but it might be the same. But if there's a brand new band, a brand new local band that are, they're just trying to play some shows and kind of start building their business, really. It's like here in Toronto, if it's a local band, no one gives a shit. No one will give you any sort of time of day. Yeah. However, when I was in Germany, it was like we went. I can't remember the name of the bar, but I was in Berlin, and then there was like just this kind of hole in the wall dive bar, but it was packed. And then it was just this band playing on the tiny little stage up there, and I'm like, and they were really good. They were really good. And then I remember I asked a local, because in Berlin they do speak English and German over there, so luckily I'm like who? Oh, I asked some random bloke. I'm like who's this band? He's like, I have no idea. I just came to see it. Yeah. I'm like, if you're a local band just starting over there, it's like there's a brand new band. They're like, we have to go see.
Well, it's metal and industrial is huge over there. Like, we got to get over there. Like, here it's really hard, especially in Canada. It's really hard. I think for our type of stuff, we'd have more success in the States and even more success in Germany and Sweden and all around there, because they still, like, look at the festival scene where you guys are. Like, it's massive.
It's massive.
And they're like, metal festivals here are so few and far between, but over there there's a different festival like every other week.
The only
90,000 people at them.
The only negative is some of them are getting very expensive. It's the same here, Connor, for new bands starting. No one cares. The other problem is it can be very cliquish as well, where we don't want anybody coming into this community. It's like, I get asked a lot, can you put us in touch with some promoters or whatever? I'm like, well, I can, but it's probably not going to happen. So I don't want to say, they'll likely put you on when not. And I've heard other bands, actually. I was talking to a band quite a while ago who were from down the south in the UK, and they were telling me that when they played in Europe, they got treated so much better. I'm sure there's some of the same problems there. There's got to be. But they were saying, compared to their experience here in the UK, they just seem to have got looked after more. You mentioned something, Joya, which I thought was very interesting when you were in Nashville, how people, it could be a hip hop guy, a metal guy, a country guy, could just sit together and that was fine. Isn't that such a good lesson for life, that people from different backgrounds or whatever, you can be friends? All that matters is just don't be, I'll try and put this politely, just don't be an a-hole. That's all we want. It doesn't matter. And I often think, if you, and like, again, my disclaimer, I'm not going to say I wasn't in that elitist phase. And of course, the extreme ends of metal, death thrash and hardcore and grindcore, etc. Of course, that is my favorites, like you were saying, Connor, but it doesn't mean I don't like anything else or listen to anything else. And I think if you stay trapped in that mindset, not only are you closing yourself off to potential new music, potential new interpretation, especially if you're a musician, you're limiting yourself as well. It's like, dude, you can have no friends. I find sometimes, and it was something you said, Joy, and it got me thinking, sometimes some of the more elitism, if you like, comes from within those music scenes, not from friends that aren't even metalheads, that know nothing about this kind of music, but are simply, you listen to death metal, for example, and deathcore and slam, whatever. It's like, so what? Are you a good friend to me? That's all I'm interested in. That's just your thing. It's like, I got a guest on recently, a Christian death metal band, and no one has said anything bad yet, and hopefully it'll stay that way. And I was thinking, you know what? It doesn't matter to me. I want to talk to them. One, I like the music. And two, I was interested in the concepts behind it. And I thought, it doesn't matter to me what they believe in or don't believe in. They are still welcome on the show. As I said, it is multi-genre. Hey, if it's something I don't like, I will still talk to you. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know everything about that particular genre of music or say, oh, hey, I'm a fan. For example, there's an indie band due on later next week, and they've been influenced, I think, by bands like Arctic Monkeys, things like that. I absolutely know nothing about that stuff. I'm not a fan of Arctic Monkeys at all. So I'm going to sit and say, oh yeah, but I'm still interested in talking to them. I've got to give a shout out as well, just before we continue, to Josh. I wonder if this is your friend Miles, Josh Miles. He was saying, gotta say, Filth is on my daily playlist when I'm a horrible commute to work. Love it. And he said, new country is just narrow-minded, lightly misogynistic pop. Well, I old school country I respect. It's not my thing. I do like Southern Gothic and dark country. That is definitely recommend that. Again, think of country with all of these like dark. It's just like you were saying, dark, rich theme music. Problem is with pop, if you look at stuff like Cardi B, I guess pop is putting out just such a trash message as a whole, and then people seem to get offended about the horror themes in our kind of scenes, and we're like, listen, yeah.
I was like, what is this? And she's like, it's Cardi B. I was like, oh my
god. Yeah. So
big yikes.
Yeah, getting back to it a moment as well. I know you're a big horror fan as well, Connor, and I'm just curious. What are some of your favorite horrors from all eras? Which ones have influenced you as well? And I'm curious, what did you think of the Hellraiser remake?
Oh man, what a loaded question.
Yeah, I'm in the habit of asking them.
First off, Hellraiser, like right off the bat, though, right off the bat, that Hellraiser remake that came out like last year, I think it did. I thought it was phenomenal. It's like the new take on Pinhead. I'm so
if you just disappear on us, if you open that, we know why.
I really like the new Hellraiser, but when I was a kid, I was watching the Munsters a lot. That was like an early influence, I guess. But I remember when I actually felt the very first time, I was like, I think I was 8 years old, and I felt terror watching a movie for the first time in my life, because I'm like 8 years old, was the very first Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's a classic.
It's actually a scary movie.
That movie, like, to be honest, I think that movie led me down to where I'm at now, because that movie scarred out of my brain. It was so scary as an 8-year-old kid, not knowing what you're watching.
For me, it was Psycho Part 2. I was like 7 or 8, and there was a scene where, like, my uncle was watching it, and I was kind of, peeking behind the couch watching it. And there was a scene where he stabs the girl through the mouth, and I remember, and that just, I was like, oh my god, it just traumatized me at that point. And then I became a horror fan after that. It's kind of weird, but I don't know, that I really liked the new Hellraiser. I thought it was it was a refreshing take on it. I mean, I'm a huge Clive Barker. Most of those books back there are Clive Barker books.
Wow.
But I like it because I like the new mythos with the box, all the different variations of it, and I really like how their clothes are actually their skin, which is kind of neat. And I thought, what's her name? I forget her name. I thought she did a really good job as Pinhead. Like,
so good. I
different, yeah.
I'm probably going to upset you both. I liked the first 20 minutes. That was it. And then I didn't really feel it after that. But it's not the worst movie I've seen.
Not the worst Hellraiser movie, that's for sure.
It's not Hellraiser 3, that's for sure.
Is that the one where it's Hellraiser Online or something? It's that dude with the horrendous acting.
Part 7, I think.
Oh, because there's so many, isn't there?
Yeah, the Hellraiser 3 is the one where they're in the nightclub.
Oh, Hell on Earth.
He's in that rotating post,
Yeah.
and then there's a CD Cenobite.
I didn't mind that one actually, and the Hellraiser in Space, that was good as well. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off then.
Hellraiser in Space. A lot of people don't agree with me on this. That was my favorite one.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Just because I really like the
what was that Jason movie that was Jason in Space? Jason X or something?
Jason X, yeah.
That was bad.
It's one of the most hilarious scenes ever, though, with Tony Todd, isn't it? The military guy, where he's got his knife pushed through him or something. He goes, "Got to do better than that," and then he pushes it again. I think the sword, and he goes, "Yeah, that'll do it." Classic line.
I got actually something that I find really fun. It is hit or miss, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's like I got a Shudder account, and I love just going down and finding these like really niche, like very low budget horror movies, because you find some like find some diamonds in there. It's
you
pretty
gotta
cool.
watch. Do you know Full Moon Video?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Full Moon Video, they're a horror movie production place, and they do the Puppet Master series.
Oh.
Demonic Toys.
Oh.
Doll Man. Then they did Demonic Toys versus Doll Man. Ginger Dead Man, which is like gingerbread
Dead Man.
A whole bunch of them, and then their recent ones are, I don't know, some giant woman stomping around, and they're so cheesy, but they're so good.
But entertaining.
One of my favorite things, and it gives me such like fall vibes. I watch it around this time of year every year. But there's this like anthology series called VHS.
Oh yeah, that first one was pretty good. I haven't seen any of the other ones.
Right. VHS 2 is the best one.
Right.
But I love that series. They're coming out with a new one in 3 weeks, like October 20th it gets released. VHS 85. Because it's like 5 like 15 20-minute short stories, like all compressed into one, and it's like some of them are pretty bad. but a lot of them are just, they're so cool, and it's cheesy, but it's entertaining, and I'm like,
that's the thing, don't some of those low production, low budget movies that might not have the best effects in the world, might be a little cheesy, but they're entertaining and they have that atmosphere. There's something gripping. And when you mentioned VHS, I can't remember the movies, and it's pretty recent. There was one, and it's always on TV on the channel we've got here called the Horror Channel. And they got this kind of VHS tape from the dad's store or something, the actors, and they put it on, and it was like, I think it was like a demon who was getting them to play an actual game, and they had no choice to play. And then it was kind of sucked in this. You probably know what I'm going on about here. It's not that old. Yeah. It's only a few years old, and it was quite interesting actually.
Oh man!
Yeah, I can't remember the name though.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it sucked me in. And then there's another, and I'm wondering, they made 2 of them. And the reason I remember it, because I liked the soundtrack, because it had a goth rock song on the end, on the closing records. I cannot remember who it was.
Nice.
And one of the characters at the end gets turned in. He's been one of the key villains in the movie, and they turned somebody into this kind of little puppet creature. And they were in a cage, and they were tormenting this thing. And in the end, one of the villains gets actually turned into one of them, and then he's kind of in the cage with this puppet creature that's been tormented, and then like the tables are turned, because that puppet then is, you're in my world now kind of thing. Now you're more size, and then the other puppets, it's got like that comedy horror spin on it, and that was quite interesting, and it was very, very goth. That's what I remember about it. And again, it's fairly recent. And it's on TV a lot. When it is, I'll randomly email and you just say, okay, this is the movie. Because I've been doing my best to behave whilst I've been talking about music, because if we get on horror, which we now have, so well, I guess I won't behave. That's it, start nerding away on it. But it's like when I was reading about the single Filth, when I read, I love fans of horror, I thought, oh man, there's another set of guests I'm going to have to try my best to behave with and get the music section out of the way before we go on horror. And then the love of theater as well. There's
what? Are any of the songs like horror themed, like any of the other stuff?
horror themed.
Yeah. I don't think so, right?
I don't think so. I mean, the next single after Filth, it's actually like the spookiest song I've ever written.
Yeah.
Right.
That one's got more of a witchcraft theme. I know that.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Tomorrow I'm chatting to a guy from Sweden from a death metal band called Heads for the Dead, and their EP is all inspired and based on classic horror movies. And I've kind of guessed which some of them are from the samples.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is he's actually the same guy who's in a band called Woombath. And what's interesting, we were saying about people that use different parts of music. Some of it is full on kind of Swedish death metal, very fast paced. Then you've got kind of slower death doomy parts. And then they've even used keyboards, kind of the odd orchestral kind of element in there with some kind of church chanting for the horror parts. And it can go like that in some of the songs you were mentioning. Was it Kid Dracula you've recommended for me to recommend? Where it was going through these different genres within that song. And I thought, man, this is pretty interesting stuff. It's different. It's definitely out there. And I thought, man, I'm probably going to be so hyper on that show with them being inspired again from those movies. I'm like, man, to try and sit still throughout it. I just wondered as well, I'll give a shout out to Josh. I saw your comments, man. And if you want to ask a question, just drop that comment and I'll put it to Connor and Joy as well. And thanks for joining us. It's much appreciated. So who would be some of the vocalists that have inspired you, Connor? And the second part of this loaded question again is, this is such the wrong day to ask this. I was about to say, how do you keep your voice in check? But given where you were last night and in the condition we all were before we started, you should have seen us, folks. We were all before we went live.
We're all slowly getting our shit together to go on.
Yeah.
But,
here, Connor. This will bring it back. I got your birthday present.
Hey, JD.
I'll bring it to the next rehearsal.
Amazing.
That'll make you gag right now, probably.
Nope. I want it, to be honest. I need hair the dog really bad. But yeah, vocalists. Holy shit. Like well, my number one favorite band of all time is Korn. So Jonathan Davis.
Yeah,
and
good
Trent
vocalist.
Reznor, obviously. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh fuck, what else do I listen to?
Just put you on the spot.
You listen to a lot of Skinny Puppy.
Ogre. Yeah. Ogre from Skinny Puppy. He's like he sings, like the way he sings, it sounds like he drank battery acid. It's awesome. It's awesome. So you got Ogre, I guess, like Al Jurgensen as well. Corey Taylor from Slipknot as well, because it's like not only Justin Slipknot, like his solo stuff, and also with Stone Sour as well. His range is absolutely incredible.
He's
like
he's an actual really good singer.
Yeah.
Like, whether or not you like Slipknot, because
you've got to respect that, haven't you?
Yeah.
He blast with Slipknot, and then he'll throw on like, and then suddenly he'll come up with a song like Through Glass or something, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's incredible. And who else? What's her name from In This Moment?
Oh, I forget.
I can't remember her name. And this is actually might be surprising to you. You know the singer Lights?
Lights.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't actually. I love that.
She's a Canadian.
I'm a massive Lights fan. I absolutely adore her.
Wow.
And
for me, it would have been Mike Patton from Faith No More.
Mike Patton for sure.
Oh, hey, man, what he's done with all those many different bands.
Oh my god! I just saw him at the Bungo 2 weeks ago, and they blew my face off. Like,
I bet.
Fucking good. Dave Lombardo on drums. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what a legend.
His vocal range is unbelievable.
What about you, Joey, with drums? Who's some of the drummers that have had an impact on you?
Oh man, so many. this is surprising a lot of people, well, not people that know me, but my favorite drummer of all time is Stuart Copeland from the Police.
Right.
Favorite of all time. And then Mario Duplantier from Gojira is one of my favorite drummers right now. Like that guy he kills it every time, and like I can't stop watching him. Like he's just so freaking good. I'm trying to think who else. There's just so many because I'm constantly watching. That's all I do is watch drum videos, and it's like I've lost track of all the drummers that I actually listen to.
I'm trying to get the cat to come on stream, but he's not.
Sorry, welcome.
Yeah, so many. I don't know.
I'm the same, man. When someone asks me, right, what's your favorite band, and I can always say, right, yeah, it's so and so and whatever, and they'll say, but it changes every month.
It does
because it depends on the mood. Like I said, at the moment, I'm listening to lots of dark synth, dark techno. You know, I mentioned some of the people I was listening to. Got into only heard a few songs so far. Ultrasun, EBM. Kind of stuff is pretty good. I like the really gothic kind of haunting vocals that guy has as well. And then, but next month, it could be something completely different. There's always like the favorites from, as we've said, the genres we like that I go to, that I listen to a lot.
Yeah.
Andrew Aldrich from Sisters of Mercy.
Ooh, yeah.
It's like I listen to him to get my super low range because he sings down there. I'm like, that's so comfortable for me to do.
Yeah. A couple of YouTube drummers or Instagram drummers I was following for a while. Anoop Sastry. He's played with so many of the more gent bands like Monuments and I don't know, he's played with everyone. And his buddy Alex Rudinger, he was drumming with Whitechapel for a while, and he does a lot of tech death drums. And I nearly lost my shit last summer because I ended up playing a show, and I didn't know have you heard the band Light the Torch?
Light the Torch, was that?
Yeah, it's with the
Howard Jones. Yeah.
Oh, from Killswitch. No, I actually haven't. No.
It's his new band. And
right.
We were playing it with them and Avatar, and we were opening, and I had no idea it was Alex Rudinger was drumming for Light the Torch, and the lighting guy came. I was setting up my drums backstage. We were the opening band. I was setting up outside because we didn't have access backstage, and he's like, "Dude, Rudy's playing drums." I'm like, "Who?" He's like, "Alex Rudinger," and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And like, like I sound like a kindergarten guy on the drums next to that guy. Like he's completely ambient. He can blast on both hands like seamlessly. He does all this technical death shit, and I'm just like, and grind, and I'm just like, how is that even humanly possible?
Yeah,
and he was playing right after me, and thank God, like I got to meet him after. I was like, "Hey, did you catch our set?" And he was like, "No, I was warming up backstage." I was like, "Thank God." So I was like, I didn't fuck up, but like at the same time, like that guy's like, I'm here. That guy's like way up here. Like,
I get that question a lot. It's like, what if Jonathan Davis walked in the room right now? I'm like, I wouldn't say 2 fucking words to him. I would probably faint.
Yeah. I'm the same with the same if it would be like a famous martial artist I met or a fighter or something. I think I would literally be starstruck on the spot and probably be so overtaken by nerves. It'd be like,
if I met like Donnie Yen or Jet Li, I'd be
oh heck, Donnie Yen, man. Oh man. Oh, dude, his movies are absolutely insane. Oh, that's it. Get me torn on martial arts. Sorry, folks. Those who are watching now, feel free to put some music-related questions in. So I'm going to there's a disclaimer. Yeah. Oh, man, Donnie Yen, some of those classics. Flashpoint, that movie set in Hong Kong, absolute classic. His scenes in Rogue One were good.
Brand new that he funded and directed himself.
Oh, dude, share.
I don't know the name of it. Fuck. I can find it real quick.
Yeah. Oh man, that sounds absolutely. Got to get on this. Huge lover of martial arts movies and action movies. Not like anybody could tell if you look in the background. Kind of a culture and everything. I'm completely obsessed with. getting just whilst you're looking that up, Joy, I think what's helped elevate some of the dark synth recently and dark techno has been Stranger Things and John Wick, you know, the music in the clubs and the John Wick movies as well.
Oh my God, so good.
Dude, that stuff's absolute fire. It's so nasty. And as we were saying, it's heavy in a different way. And it's funny, you know, when you get people, or like we've been saying about elitists, and they will be, oh no, I can't listen to Say This from country, and we'll point out, you know, Southern Gothic. And I'm starting to do the same in some of the electronic music. I'll say, oh no, it's too cheesy, don't like the helium vocals. I'll say, check out Iindustrial, which covers everything. Industrial punk, thrash, death, it's everywhere. I say, and then look at the dark techno, and the majority of the time, I'm not sitting here as a know-it-all, but there's people be like, man, this sounds different. There's something, you know, darker to it, edgier. It seems to be like less polished in the sense, not only it's unlistenable, but not as, maybe not putting this in the right way, but you know, when you sometimes hear some like pop music that's so clean, you can almost hear the dollars and the vocals and the sounds and everything. Yeah. And when they hear kind of that alternative from all of these kinds of music, they're like, oh man, that's awesome. And I'm just, to me, it just makes me want to learn more about it and explore that further. I'm like, I've got to get into this more. And as I say, that's why I've been checking out the dark synth and dark techno. You guys came in just at the right time. As I was looking to widen the genres on the show at the Iindustrial, and I thought, man, got to get into more and more of this now as well. I'm so excited and stoked to talk to you in the future about the new music you're making and the full end, which I'm going to ask you about, because hearing already these little droplets of what you're looking to add in there, I'm like, man, that's fascinating. That just grabs my nerdy imagination straight away. And I'm like, here's some people that, as we've been saying, who are incorporating different perspectives here, but still making this heavy music as well in a different way, which is awesome stuff. Sakura, I got that. I'm gonna have to. Oh man, yeah, I'll get all over this, man. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I'm waiting for a chance to watch it. So
yeah,
it was a project of. It was a passion project for them. Like,
wow,
no one got paid to do it.
Awesome.
Like, he paid them what he could, and
wow,
all like they didn't make money off.
He is a phenomenal martial artist, and he did a lot for spreading MMA in the East as well. I like how he's got he does a lot of the breakdowns, how he puts the fight scenes and actions together, and the training he's done on the movies as well. And it's pretty really intense stuff. So, as getting back just to the music for a second, before I'll let you go. So, I know you're working on the new material. When are you looking likely to release that full length?
The full length?
Full length. Yeah, that's
we're still trying to figure that out. Yeah.
That's actually a point of issue right now, because one is the cost. Let's be real here. But also it's two, the a band at like our stature, it's like we're not massive by any means. Like we're not selling out massive theaters or arenas or anything like that. So it's kind of like in today's, and it hurts me to say this because I'm an album guy, but in today's market and algorithm of whatever streaming service you have, it is a world of singles and small 3 to 4 track EPs. Fast
consumable.
And it hurts. And also really short songs too, like a minute and a half to 2 minutes. I'm like it.
The TikTok generation, yeah.
It hurts me to say it, because I'm like, I have a record player in my bedroom because I like putting on an album, listening front to back, and read my book or something while it's on. Yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So, but in today's world and the level that we're at right now, we're working towards growing, but I mean, like, albums, a full length album right now is just it's not feasible, and it's not the right choice, unfortunately. And it hurts me to say that, because dude, you have no idea. I have like 30 instrumentals like ready to go.
Yeah.
All you do is sing over them and then get them mixed, and then we could have a full length, no problem.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the way the world is now, and I can already hear people start to.
Well, even Slipknot recently said they're not doing albums anymore.
They're not doing albums anymore. Yeah. I can hear people being just like griping. It's like, do what you want. It's like, well, yeah, we are, but we have to do what makes sense for what makes sense.
And what's within our budget.
Yeah.
And
that at the end of the day,
we're the literal definition of broke ass musicians. So it's like it's, you know, but yeah, we're gonna do. So we've got another single coming out soon. I think we're gonna try to get it out this year. I think that's what you were saying last night.
If the video plans,
if it works,
will go through, then yeah.
And then the idea that we were playing with was we're gonna release, I think it was, you know, about 6 songs, and then at the end of it, like as singles, and then at the end of it, package it up as an album or an EP kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then have that on whatever, Spotify or wherever.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if those, you know, like the drone metal bands that have like 15-minute songs, bands. So it's got them like this now, just going to release that one single or split maybe with another band, which I've seen some of them doing, because that pretty much, well, you could argue their songs are almost like a full-length album.
Yeah,
that's
Oh,
so
going off that, my roommate is his name is Jimmy. Do you know the band Malhavoc by any chance?
Yeah.
You know the band Malhavoc?
Oh, sorry, no, I thought you said Havoc then for a second, the thrash band. Sorry, no, I don't.
Malhavoc, yeah, he's in the 80s and 90s. Malhavoc was huge, and we just finished like mixing like 5 songs for his new record, but each song is literally like 18 minutes. I'm like, dude, why?
Have a meal in that time, can you?
but he's adamant about it. He's like, no, I don't do what people like. Like, all right.
It reminds me, I recently said this on one of the shows. When I did a punk hardcore radio show, there was a guy, I can't recall the name of the band now because it was way back, and he was in this Italian hardcore grind band, mixing both grindcore and hardcore, and he sent me this song to play, and he was like, right, and only play this one. I was like, right, and I said, we're saying, what do you want me to shout out, where people can find you, all the usual. He goes, just play the song. And I said, you want me to give you a shout anyway? No. He goes, I don't want people to find me. He said, I don't want to get this out there. And this guy, he got quite mad because he didn't want his music out. I'm like, you're sending me a song to play on a radio show. People are going to listen to this. They're going to, if they like it, they're going to want to find you. But you want to, no, this is a thing sometimes I've come across in the punk hardcore scene, all where sometimes can be a bit too underground for its own good. And this guy just, I'd never come across that before, where the guy didn't want people to find his band or his music. And I'm like, why are you sending me this to play? It's that's the funniest thing I'd ever come across. It's like, insane. Why would you want to listen to it? Yeah, some crazy stuff, man, for sure. I know I've kept you both a long time today. I've absolutely enjoyed it. Definitely.
Me too. Yeah, this is fun.
Great.
I definitely want to talk to you again, and I really like what you're doing as well. You've got me intrigued, and I'm eager to hear what you're going to come up with next. Just from what you've been telling me on the show today, I'm like, man, this is interesting stuff. So I always do this when we get to the end. Is there anything you would like to shout out? Give anybody any shouts? I do know you've got a show coming up soon on October the 18th, is it?
Yeah.
If I remembered correctly, at the Hard Luck Bar. So I'm going to give that a plug as well.
Yeah, we're playing with Empathy Test, and there's a band called Night, which it's like their music, like it soars. It's awesome. It's like it's very 80s sounding, but I love it. So I'm excited to just meet those guys and play with them. So we got a show October 18th at Hard Luck Bar in Toronto, and then terms of shouting out anyone, I want to shout out Brett Carruthers again.
Yeah.
Brett rules. I've learned so much from the guy, so I have nothing but the utmost respect for him.
Shout out our 2 missing band members too.
Shout out to Evan and Brendan, who apparently are too busy to.
Well, we can get them on again with you on the next one.
Yeah. Admittedly, it was my fault. I didn't give him enough notice about the show, and because I usually just talk to Connor and the thing, and like, hey, let's do this, and
I'm like aces. All right, let's do it.
Well, maybe when the new single drops, get everybody back for that one.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'll probably go through John again too, and get him to do some PR stuff for the new single too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, shout out to John definitely for helping set this up. Greatly appreciated.
The guys are rules.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, folks, we're all going to do the uncomfortable pause moment when I hit end stream. So everybody's going to think, what's up with those 3 guys? This always happens. So I will see you all on the next episode of Fed Up, which is tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe, follow the channel. If you're in a band yourself or you know a band, let me know, and the welcome on the show. It is multi-genre for all genres.
Absolutely. And check out our video.
Yeah, definitely check that out.
Go the video for Filth. It's pretty rocking, I hear.
Go support Trick Casket. I'll put all the links in the description as well, y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. So we're all going to do our little pause, and I'll see you later, y'all. And thanks to you both for coming on. It's greatly appreciated.
Thanks for having us. This is fun.
Very welcome.